The reason they felt they needed to do that, Jesse, is because if they told their audience the truth, that when gas is the most expensive it's been, flights are super expensive, that 5,000 kids decided to spend a weekend in summer traveling across the country to go hear from conservative speakers, maybe the audience of The View would think twice about all of their ideas. That's why they felt so compelled to try to smear our wonderful summit this last week.
Yeah, they have nothing else to talk about. Maybe you should get the lawyer that worked on that Covington Catholic school case. What was that, a $200 million settlement? I think, Charlie, you could use the money, and your students definitely could.
Charlie Kirk and Megyn Kelly join forces. Brace yourself, because Sunny Hostin never stood a chance. Imagine a verbal WWE showdown, minus the spandex, but packed with punches. Megyn delivered the sass, Charlie unleashed the chaos, and poor Sunny, she brought nothing but second thoughts. Hot takes flew like sparks in a Facebook comment brawl, and this wasn't just a takedown, it was a masterclass in demolition. Buckle up, because this intellectual roast was swift, savage, and seriously unmissable.
Disgusting, gross elitism and her complete out-of-touch nature with respect to the rest of the world. Sunny Hostin goes on The View and decides now would be a great time to dump all over the so-called uneducated.
What we did not have is white women who voted about 52%, right, for Donald Trump. Uneducated white women, is my understanding. You have Latino men actually voting more for him, and you have and black men was not the story. We're not the story here, because they voted almost 80% for the vice.
The thing about Sunny Hostin is she's perfected the art of posing as a fearless truth warrior while swinging a plastic sword in a room full of real knights. She struts in daily with the confidence of someone guarding civilization itself, ready to fend off the forces of chaos. But here's the catch. The gates she's defending, pure cardboard. And that so-called chaos, just a light gust of inconvenient truth.
Just because you didn't go to college doesn't mean you're stupid, and it doesn't mean that you don't have wisdom. You can go to college and get a bunch of irrelevant facts about how men can allegedly give birth or whatever they teach. But I said this to our team. I said working people, the muscular class, including working women, they are so in favor of Trump, and they don't want to be called stupid or uneducated.
But fear not, the intellectual cavalry rolled in, courtesy of Charlie Kirk and Megyn Kelly. And they didn't need a debate stage or a face-off to turn Sunny Hostin's fortress of bravado into dust. Let's break down how this powerhouse pair pulled off the takedown Sunny never saw coming. A verbal wrecking ball from two sides of the media spectrum, while she was too busy crafting castles in the sky out of recycled talking points and overheated hot takes.
Charlie Kirk's the founder and CEO of Turning Point USA and the author of the new book, The College Scam. So, Charlie, do you accept The View's apology?
I mean, regardless of whether or not I accept it, the question is, do our students accept it? That's really what's at heart here. They went after our 5,000 students at our event there of high school and college kids. And look, I get attacked all the time. People say false things. I'm a public figure. But when you go after 16 and 17-year-olds that travel from across the country that then have to live for the rest of their life with a shadow over them because someone at ABC says that they might be linked to neo.
First, picture Sunny Hostin, the self-appointed moral compass of the liberal media, strutting with the confidence of someone who's never had to defend her views beyond shouting headlines on a TV set. She radiates the kind of energy that says, "I'm right because I feel strongly," which, spoiler alert, isn't the same as actually being right. Her specialty? Rallying the troops with sound bites soaked in righteous indignation, especially when taking aim at conservatives. But when it comes to consistency, Sunny's track record is, let's just say, more plot twist than principle.
What did it take for us to get to the point of an apology? We had to threaten a lawsuit, Jesse. And by the way, we're still entertaining it. We're talking to some of the best lawyers out there that are experts in this. And as you know, these things can be very complicated. There's a lot of facts and circumstances around it. But we're not going to let this go, because you should not be able to smear 5,000 high school and college kids and then just be able to walk away.
Sunny Hostin has a special talent, flipping outrage on and off like a light switch, depending entirely on who's involved. When it's politically convenient, she's front and center, torch in hand, turning serious issues into fiery monologues. But when the facts don't fit the narrative, suddenly it's radio silence. That's not principled journalism. It's more like a live audition for most loyal partisan. Sunny doesn't just comment, she performs, a walking contradiction wrapped in an oversized designer blazer. Enter Charlie Kirk. Subtlety isn't his strong suit, but that's exactly why his method lands with impact. He didn't need to go head-to-head with Sunny in a shouting match or stage a dramatic showdown. Instead, he brought the heavy artillery, facts, data, and timelines, each one slamming into her narrative like a freight train. While Sunny painted conservatives with the broad brush of extremism, Kirk pointed to the cracks in her own storyline. His critique wasn't loud, but it was lethal. Sunny's outrage wasn't about truth or principle, it was pure brand management, carefully curated for applause.
Amazing. She's specifically there referring to the women, but of course it's the non-college educated men as well who voted for Donald Trump. And the nerve of this woman to whom the country has given so much to try to dump on people who didn't go to college. Look at you. Look at your achievements. How do you like the so-called uneducated now?
Charlie Kirk exposed the glaring double standard at the heart of Sunny Hostin's so-called crusade for justice. He laid out the receipts, voting records, public statements, and behavioral patterns, proving that her outrage isn't about justice at all. It's about picking sides. When political extremism flares up on the left, Sunny's silence is deafening. But when it comes from the right, cue the moral grandstanding. Her justice warrior persona, it turns out, is less about truth and more about scoring wins in the never-ending culture war. And just when Sunny's carefully curated narrative starts to wobble, in steps Megyn Kelly. Cool, composed, and armed with facts, she flips open her metaphorical binder of receipts and starts stacking evidence like a prosecutor with zero tolerance for hypocrisy. Charlie doesn't do nuance. He swings like a man who just found a hidden drawer full of contradictions. Each one hits hard, exposing the holes in Sunny's moral high ground. The irony? It's almost poetic. Sunny, the loudest voice warning about conservative extremism, seems to misplace her outrage whenever the flames are coming from her own side. It's like crying fire, but forgetting to dial 911 when your own kitchen's in flames. Classic case of selective indignation.
Sunny Hostin I think she went to Binghamton undergrad, and she went to Notre Dame Law School, which is a great law school. Her son right now is at Harvard. That son she wants us to think is sitting there oppressed, who she's got to fight on behalf of because America is so awful to him. They're educating him right now at Harvard University. And Jason, would you take a look at this? Because I'm going to guess, I haven't been to your house down in Tennessee, but I'm going to guess it doesn't look like this. This is Sunny Hostin's home in this shitty country that she can't stand, that doesn't treat black people like Sunny well. She let People magazine feature her home. Look at this dump. This country sucks. She went to Notre Dame Law School. She makes millions on The View. Her son's at Harvard. I'm sure her daughter's at private school on her way to some Ivy League. This is where Sunny lives. And F off, America. I can't stand how you've kept us all in chains. That's her message.
And Kirk? He's the guy showing up with the fire hose while everyone else is busy fanning the flames. He doesn't waste time with shouting matches or dramatic gestures. Instead, he brings the heavy artillery, data, timelines, and actual voting. Records. Because nothing lands harder than cold, objective facts lined up like soldiers in formation. Kirk methodically tracks how Sunny Hostin's outrage flips like a switch, blazing hot when conservatives are involved, but mysteriously absent. When the extremism comes from her own side, when the narrative doesn't serve her team, Sunny vanishes faster than a magician's rabbit. No commentary, no accountability, just radio silence. But this isn't just a case of inconsistency. It's strategy. Her outrage isn't fueled by principle, it's driven by performance. She's not speaking truth to power, she's curating content for applause. Sunny's mastered the economics of emotion, where moral fury becomes a transaction. Her outrage fluctuates not with the seriousness of the issue, but with its potential political return. It's outrage on demand, not conviction in action. Kirk's takedown isn't about insults, it's about precision. He's the forensic accountant of media hypocrisy, exposing how Sunny's justice crusade is less moral mission, more media theater. The real bombshell? Her outrage isn't authentic, it's rented. And the lease expires the moment the facts don't cooperate.
Think if a liberal came to speak at University of Kentucky, they'd give an open mic like I just did to a conservative and had a discussion like this.
I certainly hope they would.
No, they wouldn't. Because speech is not a left-wing value. That is why they have to deploy shock troops called Antifa to go after everywhere I go. When I go to University of California, Davis next week, there has to be 120 police officers because of the threats, the violent threats of liberals that want me dead, that want to disrupt our events. There are no right-wing hecklers that come to events like this. I think it's rather clear There's one side that is trying to do everything they can to shut one side up, and one side that's trying to open up the marketplace of ideas. And I think that's rather selfish.
Just when you think the spotlight couldn't get any hotter, in walks Megyn Kelly. Calm, composed, and armed with something even more powerful than Charlie Kirk's sledgehammer, a binder of receipts thicker than a law textbook and a laser focus, sharp enough to dissect a fly mid-flight. Kelly doesn't do petty name-calling or performative clapbacks. She's not here to trade jabs, she's here to dismantle piece by piece, with the precision of a surgeon and the patience of someone who's witnessed one too many media meltdowns. She treats Sunny Hostin's media theatrics like a trial prep session, not a Twitter spat. While others might argue in circles, Kelly calmly lays out the case, showing exactly how Sunny cherry-picks context, spins narratives, and builds monologues. That sound compelling until you hold them up to the light. What you see then isn't substance, it's sleight of hand. It's like watching a magician's trick get exposed, only to realize the magic was just a card hidden up the sleeve. Kelly reveals a pattern, bold declarations of moral superiority, followed by factual misfires so glaring they might as well be flashing neon. Sunny's takes on justice, race, and political accountability aren't just biased, they're a curated highlight reel. One that skips the inconvenient truths, edits out nuance, and delivers outrage with a side of selective memory. Megyn shows us that Sunny's truth isn't about clarity, it's a choose-your-own-adventure of drama and virtue signals. And every path ends in the same place, loud, righteous, and carefully scripted.
Sunny Hostin over at The View had some choice words for Brittany Mahomes, who's married to the other Mahomes guy who plays for the Chiefs. She had the temerity to like a Trump post online, and she's been taking shit for it ever since. She wound up posting this defensive tweet saying, God, people are like, you got to settle down, like, go be a better person and don't jump all over people for just random stuff. And here's Sunny Hostin weighing in on it.
Since she is in an interracial marriage, she should have known that to support a racist is problematic. Her children are biracial, and her family is one of the families that in the 70s could not have lived in any of Donald Trump's buildings. So,
adding fuel to the fire, Megyn Kelly shines a spotlight on the media hypocrisy at the core of Sunny Hostin's performance. Kelly calls out the echo chamber effect, where personalities like Sunny thrive, their opinions bouncing around unchallenged, amplified by applause instead of analysis. In this cozy feedback loop, moral grandstanding drowns out scrutiny, and outrage becomes currency, while facts are treated like optional accessories. But here's the twist. Kelly doesn't need to yell or trade jabs to make an impact. Her calm, methodical takedowns cut far deeper than any viral tweet or fiery on-air rant. It's the quiet precision of real scrutiny, like a hawk circling overhead, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Watching Megyn dismantle Sunny's media game feels less like a brawl and more like a surgical procedure, exposing every weak point with brutal clarity. Together, Kirk and Kelly form a surprisingly effective tag team. Kirk wields the data like a wrecking ball, while Kelly brings the scalpel. The end result? A carefully cultivated public persona torn apart, revealing a patchwork of selective outrage, brand-based indignation, and narratives so fragile, they collapse under the weight of even the simplest critical thinking.
Sunny Hostin of The View finds out that this is fantastic, she is descended from slaveholders. Here's what she said when she went out on The View.
Really reluctant to do it because I just sensed that there could be something in my family history that would be disappointing. But what I found out was that my mother's family, while they are Puerto Rican, they actually originate from Spain. And the reason that they moved to Puerto Rico is because the slave trade had been sort of canceled in Spain and then Curacao, and then they moved all of their slaves to Puerto Rico. And so the family business, I have been told that they were printers. And
so while Sunny Hostin marches forward, cloaked in bluster and bravado, proclaiming herself a champion of truth and justice, Charlie Kirk and Megyn Kelly quietly do the heavy lifting. They reveal the uncomfortable truth. When you build your platform on outrage without a foundation of principle, you're just crafting sandcastles at high tide. And no matter how loud the waves of moral fury crash, facts and scrutiny are the tide that inevitably washes it all away. Megyn Kelly, in particular, moved with the poise of a seasoned trial lawyer, dissecting Sunny's contradictions with surgical precision and zero theatrics. She didn't engage in petty squabbles or toss cheap shots. Instead, she did what she does best, calmly and thoroughly deconstructed Sunny's media performances like an expert conducting an autopsy. Every attempt Sunny made to reframe events fell apart under Kelly's relentless, fact-based lens. What Kelly exposed was more than just a few offbeat opinions. It was a pattern. Sunny's self-righteous brand of commentary always seemed to outrun the facts. Whether the topic was the justice system, race, or political accountability, her narratives often came with a built-in escape hatch for anything inconvenient. And that's the real issue. This wasn't just a personal blind spot. It was a glaring example of media hypocrisy, a bubble where applause drowns out accuracy, and echo chambers echo a little too loudly.
I'm thrilled you're doing the next debate, Megyn. That's a step in the right direction, because honestly, you're going to ask the tough questions very firmly and fairly. More, that Univision person that was there a couple debates ago is just obviously had an agenda, and you're going to hold them accountable. And also, you have a really big audience of people of all different political backgrounds. And finally, Megyn, I think, and I don't know what you're going to ask, but I would imagine you're going to get some answers on this trans thing, which I think is a civilizational defining issue, right? That has not received any attention.
By NBC,
right?
Not a question.
Because they know it's a loop.
The real kicker came when these two forces collided. Charlie Kirk's fact-driven hammer meeting Megyn Kelly's razor-sharp analysis, and Sunny Hostin's entire public persona crumbled like a poorly baked souffle. She aimed to be the voice of reason, the cultural gatekeeper, the defender of progressive values. Instead, she looked like someone desperately trying to patch a leaky boat with duct tape, and failing spectacularly. What made this takedown so satisfying wasn't loud, insults, or dramatic showdowns. It was surgical precision. Kirk and Kelly didn't need to mock or shout to dismantle her. They simply pulled back the curtain and let her contradictions speak for themselves. The result was a quiet, yet devastating unraveling that exposed just how fragile her foundation really was. It was destruction done with almost polite efficiency, but left Sunny completely vulnerable. Here's the irony. Neither Kirk nor Kelly ever needed to confront Sunny face-to-face. There were no fiery debates or on-air shouting matches. Their dismantling happened off-stage, through commentary and analysis that cut far deeper than any bluster or insult ever could. The louder Sunny proclaimed her moral high ground, the quieter the room became, as her arguments withered under calm, rational scrutiny. This was a clear reminder. The most effective takedown isn't noise or theatrics. It's sharp minds and undeniable facts. Beneath Sunny's outrage, there's plenty of passion, but very little principle. She's less a fearless defender of truth and more a media performer, playing a role designed for applause, not accuracy.